The U.S. women's national team's first game of this year's World Cup is in the books, a 3-0 victory over Vietnam. And the team is now preparing to take on the Netherlands on Wednesday. There's some important changes for this year's tournament, reflecting the global growth of women's soccer, or if you prefer, football. They have the biggest number of teams ever playing for the biggest pot of prize money ever. But some issues haven't changed, most notably equality with men's teams. Christine Brennan is a USA Today sports writer and columnist. First off, your reaction to the U.S. first game.
You know, John, it was a good start for the U.S., not a great start. I'm sure people watched. They saw all the shots that the U.S. had that did not go in the back of the net, and you wondered if it could have been 10-0 or something like that. But the reality was Vietnam, first time in the tournament, and they played very well defensively, and they really collapsed on the Americans. And that U.S. attack, the vaunted offense that the U.S. has, it just couldn't quite do what it thought it could or wanted to do. But a win is a win. You want to get through. You want to move on to the next one. That's where the U.S. is. The young stars from the U.S., Sophia Smith, shining, showing that they belong on the team with the veterans. So I think it was fine for the U.S., although I know a lot of people wanted to see a lot more goals.
Yeah, I think so. You say, Vietnam did not have a team until 1997. Mm-hmm. They're one of the beneficiaries of moving from a 24-team format to 32. And they point out, FIFA, the governing body, points out it's the same format as the men. Are there other ways in that they're moving toward the men's tournament?
Slowly, yes, John, very slowly, for those who believe that there should be more equality for women in sports. And certainly the U.S. team, for example, their fight for equal pay, which was a worldwide phenomenon with Megan Rapinoe and others leading the way. Finally, the U.S. soccer paying the women equal to the men. Of course, the women are the ones that win. Women are the ones that are the wildly popular team. So that's a good thing. But now the rest of the world is saying, well, what about us? And I think that when you see the prize money, the fact that the men for last year's World Cup in Qatar, $440 million pot, and the women $110 million. So that's 25 cents on the dollar. It's way better than it was. The glass is half full, not half empty, but it's nowhere near what it needs to be. Now FIFA's saying, well, we'll get there in the next cycle. That would be great. I'm a little skeptical.
You mentioned the U.S. team's fight for pay equity. They've got a number of other teams this year that are squabbling with their home federations, Canada, England. Is there any sense that the U.S. team has led the way on this and that other teams are sort of trying to follow in their footsteps?
Without a doubt. And it goes back to Title IX, signed by Richard Nixon, June of '72, 51 years ago. The U.S. understanding that we wanted our daughters and nieces and granddaughters to play sports just like the boys. And so what you had the U.S. in 1999, the Women's World Cup, people remember Brandi Chastain whipping off her shirt, Mia Hamm, Julie Foudy, Brianna Scurry. When you had that, they're really, to me, the role models. They're the ones that people around the world looked at and said, look at the Rose Bowl, full to capacity for a women's football game, women's soccer. And they really were, in many ways, the latter-day Johnny Appleseeds, sowing the seeds for the game around the world. I think, absolutely did it. Because even back in 2000, they were fighting for equal pay. So we remember the recent battle, but really the length of this century, almost a quarter century, the U.S. women have been leading that battle.
You mentioned the disparity between the men and women. The women only getting 25 cents on the dollar compared to the men. FIFA says they want to have equity by 2027. How realistic is that?
I would love to be wrong, but I don't see that as being realistic. Unless we're going to see great TV ratings again, John. I think that's where this battle was lost so long ago. They didn't realize the incredible growth potential of the other 51% of the population, women, to play football, to buy jerseys, to want to, buy tickets for games. So all of that, when we see Brazil and Argentina and the other countries that care about so much on, the men's game and never cared about the women's game. Now they're getting it a little bit, but I think that's where the problem is. And the question is now, are they willing to really make that huge jump in 4 years? I hope they are, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Let's get back to the competition on the field. The 8 countries that are making their debuts this year because of the expansion are Haiti, Morocco, Portugal, the Philippines, Ireland, Vietnam, and Zambia. There's smaller countries, mostly poorer countries. A lot of talk today about Haiti. Right. They played England in their first game. A lot of people, I think, were expected a very lopsided game. but it was only 1-0.
Exactly. And Haiti had some chances right near the end. I think England is shocked. I can only imagine what the headlines in the British tabloids are. Oh my goodness, because everything's life and death with them. Good for Haiti. And when you think about Haiti, what do we think of? And they even have talked about this, the players. Of course, the hurricanes, the earthquakes, the incredible political turmoil. Just your heart aches for the living conditions and the heartache and the problems and the issues that go on in Haiti. And yet, they've been able to field this team. These women are proud. There, one or two have been playing overseas. They play in the U.S. colleges, and they're good. And it's the nature of the country, as in so many countries, that kids grow up with a soccer ball on their feet. Well, now they're giving the girls a chance, but they haven't had much of a national team. And so truly, probably the biggest underdog in the entire tournament, number 32 of 32 teams. And they really almost, they didn't almost beat or tied England, one of the favorites to win. And I think that's the beauty of this tournament now. Almost anyone can pull off an upset like that. We could not have said those words really even 12 years ago.
Christine Brennan of USA Today, thanks very much.
John, thank you.